All right, today we are going to dive into a piece of engineering that you use every single day, probably without even thinking about it. And that is, of course, your own leg. From your hip all the way down to your toes, it is an incredible system of levers, joints, and foundations that makes everything we do possible. I mean, seriously, have you ever just stopped to think about it? This simple act of taking a single step is a biomechanical miracle. So what's the secret? What's the blueprint that lets our body pull off this effortless, powerful movement day in and day out?
Well, that is exactly what we're going to get into. We are going on a journey, starting at your hip and working our way down to your toes. Think of this less like an anatomy lesson and more like a guided tour of a true masterpiece of biological engineering.
So where do we start? Well, every great structure needs a solid foundation, right? And for us, that's the pelvic girdle. The best way to think about it is like the chassis of a car. It's this super strong, stable frame that everything else anchors to. And you can see here why the pelvis is just so essential. It forms this complete, solid ring of bone. It's not just a couple of bones hanging out together. It's a totally unified structure. Its whole job is to funnel the entire weight of your upper body, your torso, your head, your arms, down into your legs. It's the critical link. But what's really wild is that this huge hip bone doesn't start out as one piece. Nope. When you're born, it's actually three separate parts: the ilium, ischium, and pubis, all held together by cartilage. Then, as you grow up, they fuse together into one incredibly solid bone. It's like a self-assembling piece of hardware. Pretty cool. And you can check this out for yourself. Go ahead, put your hands on your hips, right at your waistline. That hard, bony ridge you feel, that's it. That's the iliac crest, the very top of your ilium. And as you can see, it's a massive anchor point for all sorts of core and leg muscles. It's a true hub for stability and power. Okay, now let's talk about the part of your hip that you're probably using right now. It's a spot on the ischium called the ischial tuberosity, but you probably know it by its nickname, your sitting bones. Yep, that's literally what they're for. They are perfectly designed to support your body's weight when you sit down. So how does the leg actually plug into this whole structure? That's where this comes in, the acetabulum. This is one of the most critical parts of the hip. It's this deep, cup-shaped socket, and it's where the thigh bone fits in perfectly. It's a classic ball and socket joint, engineered for a huge range of motion while staying super stable. Now, you might be looking at the hip bone and wondering, hey, what's that giant hole for? Well, that is not a mistake. It's called the obturator foramen, and it's actually a brilliant design feature. It makes the whole pelvis lighter without compromising strength, and it creates a safe passageway, like a tunnel, for important nerves and blood vessels to get from your torso down into your leg. And here is a fantastic real-world example of how important this anatomy is. The space inside that bony ring is called the pelvic inlet. Well, during childbirth, when a doctor or midwife says the baby's head is fixed, what they mean is that the head has successfully passed through this exact bony gateway. It's an absolutely critical milestone. Okay, moving down from our chassis, the pelvis, we get to the engine. We get to our powerhouse, the femur. This is the bone that plugs into the hip and drives all of our biggest movements, like running, jumping, you name it. And I am not kidding when I call it a powerhouse. The femur is the longest, the heaviest, and the strongest bone in your entire body. In fact, pound for pound, it's actually stronger than concrete. It has to be to withstand the thousands of pounds of force that go through it when we run and jump. Now, if you look at the top of the femur, you'll see all these bumps and ridges. These are not random. They are purpose-built anchor points. You have the smooth, round head that fits into the hip socket. Then you have these big bumps, the trochanters, which are where your huge hip and thigh muscles grab onto to give you leverage to move. So what happens at the other end of this giant bone? Well, it doesn't just stop. It flares out into these two big smooth knobs called the medial and lateral condyles. You could almost think of them as the rockers on a rocking chair. They are perfectly shaped to meet up with the lower leg bones and form the top half of your knee. All right, so connecting to the femur at the knee joint, we find the lower leg's dynamic duo, the tibia and the fibula. Now, these two bones are a team, for sure, but they have totally different jobs. The tibia, that's your main shin bone, is the second largest bone in your body, and it is the workhorse. It bears almost all of your weight. The fibula, on the other hand, is way more slender. Its main gig is to provide stability and to be a place for muscles to attach. And we can't talk about the knee without mentioning this clever little piece of gear, the patella, also known as your kneecap. It's a special type of bone called a sesamoid bone, which means it lives inside a tendon. Its job is to act like a pulley, giving your quad muscles way more leverage. It basically makes your leg extension more powerful and reduces friction. It's a brilliant little invention. Okay, time to make this physical again. Reach down and feel for that big bony bump on the inside of your ankle. Got it? That's the medial malleolus. And what you're feeling is the very bottom of your tibia, that main weight-bearing shin bone we were just talking about. Now feel for the matching bump on the outside of your ankle. That is the lateral malleolus, and it's the very bottom tip of the fibula. So these two bumps, the medial and lateral malleolus, work together. They create this perfect little bracket that cradles the main bone of your foot, allowing you to pivot up and down while keeping everything nice and stable. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the part that connects this whole amazing structure to the ground. Let's talk about the incredible architecture of the foot, our ultimate foundation. Get ready for this, because the complexity here is just wow. Each one of your feet has 26 bones. 26! You've got 7 tarsal bones in the ankle and heel, 5 metatarsals making up the arch, and 14 little phalanges for your toes. It is absolutely packed with moving parts. So you have to be asking, why on earth are there so many tiny bones? Well, it's a brilliant trade-off. Your foot has to be strong enough to support your entire body, like a stone arch, but it also has to be flexible enough to act like a suspension system, absorbing shock and adapting to uneven ground. This design gives you the best of both worlds. So just think about the journey we just took, from the solid chassis of the pelvic girdle, down the powerhouse femur, past the dynamic duo of the tibia and fibula, and finally landing on the complex foundation of the foot. It all just works seamlessly. So the next time you get up and take a step, maybe you'll have a little more appreciation for the incredible engineering that's happening inside you with every single movement. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?